Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Kushmerek Connection. Pleased to be joined today by Michael Ray Jeffries, chair of the Lunenburg Select Board. We are filming today in the FATV studios in the Workers Credit Union studio. Thank you so much to Workers Credit Union for all that they do in our community. Thank you to FATV for always giving the public and us the opportunity to be here. Michael Ray, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. So it really is exciting to be here with you, and we all, of course, appreciate the work you do for our community.
Well, thank you. And I'm always thrilled when we get to really showcase the district on this show. And I think so many folks think of this as just a Fitchburg-based seat.
Yeah.
So I'm really pleased to be joined by our chair from Lunenburg and really illustrating, all that our district has to offer. And so, Michael Ray, tell us, particularly I think there's so many in Fitchburg who might not be familiar with you and your work, but also folks in Lunenburg who are just getting to know you as well for the first time or just recently.
Yeah. So I'll talk a little bit about who I am. So I will say that I have some family here in Fitchburg. So it is kind of cool. My brother and his family, his children all live here in Fitchburg and go to the school system here. So my family's from, I'm a military brat. My father was in the Army, he retired, and we moved to Lunenburg. And my family is from Wake Forest. Father's side is from Wake Forest, North Carolina. My mother's side is from Mississippi. And so, my life story is I was a military brat. We traveled around. We moved to Lunenburg when I was about 10 years old. And I went through the school system from 5th grade until senior year. I had a great experience in Lunenburg. I joined the Army when I was a junior in high school. Went to basic training between
Junior in high school. I don't hear that often.
Yeah, I went to basic between my junior and senior year of high school. It's kind of crazy because you come home and you really feel like an adult.
Right. and then you've got to go back to high school.
And you got to go back to high school for another year. Exactly. So, I was in the Army. I did I retired from the military, full career there. It was really enjoyable. I worked in many different capacities. I was deployed. Well, I started off in the reserves. I went to Fitchburg State, and I was deployed in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. So in 2003, when the wars began, is when I was deployed, and so I was there for that whole first year.
Sure.
And it took me 20 years to finish my college degree, but I finally finished it, and now I'm working on my master's. So, live in Lunenburg, have a nice, married, I have a husband, and we have 4 goats. So that's my life now in a nutshell.
4 goats, all right. So first, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And I love the Fitchburg State story too. I think there's so many. It's rarely the 4-year path.
Yeah.
I think that the Fitchburg State journey often, isn't a linear one, and I love that to hear, folks that start and eventually are able to finish. And
yeah.
So now, where are you going for your master's?
Pittsburgh.
Wonderful.
I'm back at Fitchburg. Their motto really of perseverance, that really is, I think, for me, core, because challenges happen. You don't always expect what's going to happen next in life, and I definitely, I went into college on scholarship. I did not see that there would be any interruption to the path. So Fitchburg really worked well for me. I got a great education coming out of that school. And,
that's amazing.
Happy to be back.
And soon you'll be a double Falcon.
Exactly.
All right. So you now work for Mass Development, which is an organization that is really impactful throughout our region, throughout the Commonwealth. But most people haven't heard of it. Tell us what they do and your role there.
Yeah, so Mass Development is a great organization. So it started out in the 90s. It was kind of a combination of a couple different organizations. So now it's a quasi-state agency. I'm not considered a state employee, but our CEO is appointed by the governor. So really what we do is we promote economic development across the Commonwealth. And there's different ways of doing it. The full name is Massachusetts Development Finance Agency, and that really is a big chunk of what we do. Is there's financing that's provided to any business that's looking to expand or grow, maybe traditional financing isn't working for you. And so mass development's right there to kind of bridge that gap between the commercial, what's out there and available on the commercial side of the house. And really so many success stories of businesses all across the Commonwealth that have been able to grow and expand with the support of mass development's investments. There's also a real estate component to it as well, in which mass development is kind of the state's land bank, in which we're looking for properties that maybe right now they're not developable for different reasons, whether it's infrastructure needs, it needs some civil engineering work, or it's just a building that for whatever reason needs a certain level of investment that business just isn't looking to make right now. So mass development is often willing to take on those kind of projects, try to figure out cost-effective ways to make them more appealing to the market, and then turn them back over to the market. So my role, I'm the Vice President of Asset Management. I work in all the physical property that mass development has, managing our offices, managing some of the actual buildings that we have across the Commonwealth, and some of these properties that we are transitioning, that we are turning over. And then also, we have some incubators where we have business properties that really are incubators for the business community to jump on board with. And so that's a really rewarding, I think, career for me. It's something that, coming out of the military, something that was really important is having a career that gives value to others and to myself, to feel like you're making a difference. So it really is exciting.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I think you and I talk about it often. Economic growth and opportunity is just so critical, particularly for our region. And often, that economic growth that's seen in Boston and the greater Boston area is not paralleled equally across the Commonwealth. And we see Boston and maybe 5 or 10 other large-scale cities really get all of the economic attention. And so I'm so happy to have someone like you that's really focused on more equally dispersing it across cities and towns and regionally, to make sure that every region and every zone really has an opportunity to succeed and to thrive.
Yes.
That said, I'd love to really jump into your experience on the Lunenburg Select Board. You're now in your 3rd year, and now recently, just within the past couple of weeks, elected as the new Select Board Chair. Tell us a little bit about your experience and what your vision is now as Chair.
Yeah, I will say that demographically, Lunenburg is a primarily Caucasian community. I think many people are shocked to learn that that there's a selectman that's African American, and now to learn that there's the chair of the select board is African American. But really, I think it speaks to the values of Lunenburg as a community.
That's right.
That although the demographics may look a certain way, that it really is a welcoming community for all, and we are a homeowner-based community. And I think a lot of communities like Fitchburg, you have a higher transient population, more apartments than we have in Lunenburg, and or in Leominster. So I think we look at ourselves as somewhat being a bedroom community in some ways, but certainly economic development is important to us as well, and having a broader tax base other than just homeowners. So what got me interested was, as I was coming out of the Army, I really committed when I was a teenager to a lifetime of service. Yeah. And I made that pledge. And so coming out of the Army in 2017, I was really looking for, what comes next for me, and how do I continue this service to our community. And so what I kind of assumed or decided was that I would give it back to the town. After traveling around and seeing different states, I've been to 42 states and 14 countries. Wow. And a lot of times, like, you leave, you come out of a school system, you're like, oh, I can't wait to get out of here. But for me, the more years that went by, I think the more I really felt connected, if that makes sense, to come back, and feeling as if Lunenburg really is this small town that had a lot to offer. So I decided to join the planning board, and I was appointed into a vacancy. And while there, I think I recognized that my skill sets would probably be better utilized on the select board.
Sure.
So it's been 3 years. I was just reelected on the end of May.
Congratulations.
And, thank you. Just became chair of the select board. So it has been a really exciting time for me so far. As I look at the next couple of years and kind of just to share what I want us to focus on and what I want us to do. There are a couple areas. So number one, I want to talk about seniors.
Absolutely.
It's critically important that seniors are a really important part of every community. And where do seniors come from? They're all of us as we age.
Right.
And so, what happens though is when you look at what's happened in the global economy or regional economy, We have a lot of retirees, people who retired in the 90s. And in the 90s, if you had a career, you may be retired. What was a good pay in the 90s? $50,000, $60,000?
Exactly, right.
And so getting a pension of getting 50-60% of that was great. A lot of people bought their homes in the 70s for $20,000, 25 grand. And so now you have people whose tax bills are higher than their mortgages ever were. And so for the people who've lived in a community, who've built a community, I think there's this feeling now in their senior years of where do I fit? Because I can't afford to stay here. And for many of our residents, that means, leaving Lunenburg because we don't have a area where there's a lot of apartments. It means moving into Fitchburg or moving into Leominster or another community that you didn't help build for 30, 40 years of your life. And so our goal is to find a way to keep them in town. And so we have a subcommittee that's looking at senior tax relief. The message to seniors is, unfortunately, taxes will always increase. That's just the unfortunate reality of the environment that we're all in. But if we can slow the increase, if we can slow it for those who are the most vulnerable, I think that would be a really good accomplishment.
That's so critical, and I think that resonates in every community. But you're right, particularly a community like Lunenburg that has seen property values just skyrocket over the past decade. Most people don't know it, but Lunenburg is one of the fastest growing communities in the entire Commonwealth. In the past 20 years, it's increased by something like 45%.
Yes.
Every census, we just see this massive growth, and that's incredible. That's great for Lunenburg. It's great for the region. But you're right, it comes at a cost, often the seniors.
It does, so that's one of the areas that really I think we need to be better at. Another area of focus I think is kind of internal, and it's the select board is a policy making board. We have a town manager that really does the day-to-day operations of the community. But I think that we have to have a better feedback loop. I think when you look at children and how they're learning today. When I went through school, I think I was kind of the end of the rows and columns group, where all of us learned in rows and columns, and that's just how you learn. Kids nowadays, they learn in groups of 4 for the most part. They're learning as teams. And we really have to make use of that learning style and bring it into how government functions. So what I mean by that is making more collaborative roles, collaborative positions, and also getting into the habit of doing climate surveys, in which we're doing kind of a full circle evaluation of our leadership within town. So that way we're incorporating the best ideas of the people who are on the ground, who are in it every single day, and that those ideas that they have, that they're coming up and that they're making their way through to get to the policymakers, so that way we're creating rules and policies that are incorporating some of those best practices. So that's really, I think, another kind of key focus of mine over this next year is finding a way to do it in a way that's really respectful to the things that have already been in place.
Absolutely.
But finding a way to increase this feedback loop so that way we are on this permanent footing in which all things that we do are just incorporating all these great ideas.
Well, Michael Ray Jeffries, I'm just delighted to have you as a partner in Lunenburg. And, you have devoted your life and your career to public service, service to our nation, service to our community. And then you're bringing those skill sets and those experiences to your community to serve them best, and employing data-driven and experiential approach alike. And that's just so critical to move a community forward. And you've been an outstanding partner. You've pushed me to reconsider positions and to look at it through a different lens and to get to know the community even better. And so I want to thank you for your partnership. I know that certainly we're at the outset of that journey, and looking forward to continue working with you in lockstep to improve Lunenburg and to improve the greater North Central region. So thank you for everything you do, and looking forward to the next steps. And to our viewers at home, stay tuned. We'll be right back. And with it, we'll have Diane Burnett from the North Central Massachusetts Chamber of Commerce and the Johnny Appleseed Visitor Center. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're back. Joined with me is Diane Burnett, Director of the Visitor Center, Johnny Appleseed Visitor Center, associated with the North Central Massachusetts Chamber of Commerce. Diane, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. This isn't your first rodeo at FATV,
No.
and this isn't your first rodeo talking about both your career and the Visitor Center. But give our viewers a sense of who you are and what you've done and where things are going.
I started at the Chamber of Commerce 24 years ago. This is coming up to my 25th year. I never thought I'd be there that long. I was just looking for a job. I decided I didn't like
That's
retail.
always how it starts, isn't
Yeah.
it?
I was tired of retail.
Yeah.
So I got out of retail and said, I want a nice office job. And I stayed at the office. I was the office manager for years. Yeah. And then the position came available for the Visitor Center, and they needed somebody who had retail and office. So I was the fit. Yeah. I went. Again, didn't think I'd be there this long, but I love it. I love the job. I love the place. I take ownership of it. To me, it's important. It's an important piece of our region, and to show people what is here, what there is to do, and just enjoy where we live. We live in a very unique place.
We absolutely do, and I think most folks, particularly residents, you don't think of tourism.
No.
You go about your daily life, and
No.
you're not a tourist in your own town or municipality. Usually, you actually are.
Yeah.
I don't think they often think of people coming in from all over the region, the Commonwealth, or throughout the country. And often, they might view a visitor center, whether it's here or anywhere else, as a quick pit stop on the way to somewhere else.
Yeah.
But it's so much more. Tell us a little bit about the work that you do.
It's so much more. I have people that they're coming here for a particular experience. They're looking for green. They're looking for open spaces. They want to hike. They want to fish. They want to walk trails. They want to be outdoors. If they live in the concrete jungle, they don't have that.
That's right.
I have people that travel from all over the world, Japan, we'll say Japan, and they're in love being here because there's green grass.
Right.
There's open spaces. So for us, one of our biggest attributes is what we have here, that you can go hiking and fishing and, walk a country stream and, go to orchards and pick your own fruit. And these are things that we might take for granted.
Absolutely.
But they're here.
Right.
They are. They're here. So people love coming to the region, and my job is to point that out to them. What's here? Don't just drive by.
Right.
Stop, visit, go to an orchard. Go get some fresh apples. Right. Take your children to the farms. Go to Carlson Orchards where they have peaches. They sell out of their peaches within 2 weeks. The trees are picked clean because people know this is when I come to get my peaches.
Right.
We're coming up onto strawberry season. There's a season for blueberries. There's a season for everything that, every couple weeks you can pick something new.
That's right.
So it's a unique place that you can do this and still let your kids run free and play. And that's what we try to tell people is what's the good about our region.
Right. Hollis Hills Farm is home to the largest maple harvest in Massachusetts.
He's the largest. We sell his products at the Visitor Center. Yeah. We're helping build economic development. We're buying from the small guy, putting it in the Visitor Center to show them where it is. So they buy their maple. Well, I got to go check this place out. So they'll go to see Hollis Hill. They'll go to Red Apple Farm to get some of their apple pies and dumplings that are just wonderful, or cider donuts.
Right.
So we're promoting what's here. We're trying to get people to sample the goods.
Right.
How's that? Sample the goods.
No, I think that's perfect. And I think all too often when people think of, Fitchburg, for example, they think of, an urban community that's home to, maybe the art museum. They certainly know about Fitchburg State University, but they might not know too much more. And they're certainly not thinking, and I think, like you said, we take it for granted about, the farms and the agriculture that's here right in Fitchburg, or the dozens of parks that exist in the city of Fitchburg, or one of the largest indoor water parks in New England, if not the largest, right here in Fitchburg. And certainly, I think the same is true for Lunenburg. If people think it's a small, quiet, suburban community, and they're not thinking about whether it's blacksmiths or agricultural businesses and farms to really enjoy every season on. and there's just so much to offer in this region.
People don't realize there's alpaca farms in this region. And they come into the visitor center and, well, what is that?
Right.
So you explain it to them that there's alpaca, this is their fur, what they do with it, how does it come back to as a completed product, that you can go see the alpacas. You can do yoga with them. I mean, you can do yoga with the alpacas on Saturdays and Sundays mornings in our region, and people love it. They're outdoors, they're with an animal, and they're exercising. They've covered it all. So, you know, it's one of those things in our region that people just don't realize that there's a lot of interesting, unique things here. There is.
Well, and you know, I think the Fitchburg Municipal Airport's yet another one. Certainly, they might not be using the visitor center, but they're certainly taking advantage of tourism. And
Yeah.
most folks don't think of the role that a municipal airport plays in tourism, but so many municipalities have closed their airports, and private airports have closed. And so there's fewer and fewer of these municipal and private airports, and there's a really a budding aviation tourist industry, and
Yeah.
Fitchburg has seen a real explosion there, and people
Yeah.
that look to take their airplane in, and then they want to explore the community
Yeah.
once they land and have a bite to eat and see something new.
They bring their children here to school.
That's right.
They bring their children here to school. They come for a week to visit them. They want to see what's here in the area. Where can they go? What can they do? And it's a big part. It
Planes,
is.
trains, and automobiles.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got to come.
That's right. So, you know, I think so much beyond just, you know, visiting a business and coming for a weekend are the festivals and events and large-scale things that we do at a community level. Not just, you know, I'm always particularly proud of Fitchburg and Lunenburg, the two communities I represent in the legislature, but the entire region is really rich with cultural events and community events that have a draw far beyond just north central Massachusetts.
Yep, they do.
And so I'm thinking in particular of Civic Days in Fitchburg coming up. And, you know, the Brewers Festival is something that really seems to draw people from all over the state and beyond. I know I've had friends drive from, you know, Baltimore, Maryland, and Brooklyn, New York to join, and who really think this is just one of the greatest things ever.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, we see it on a large scale. And then Civic Days and the block party that brings in 10,000 or more people.
Yeah,
Tell
they
us
do.
a little bit about your efforts there, because I think people come, they enjoy the day, and they're not thinking about who's behind the scenes. But I know you've been doing this really since its inception.
I picked it up, I'm going to say 13 years ago.
Okay.
I went to it, and it was down at Coolidge. And when I went, there was 2 tents, there was 3 cars, there was 1 band, and not enough water in the stream to run the ducks. And it's like, really, what happened? This used to be wonderful. And I told myself, I can do better. And just because of what I know from my job and how to plan events and parties and things, and I said, I can do better. And we have built it into an awesome event. We estimate 18,000 people show up to the block party. It's 8 blocks of fun. There's something for everyone. I'm proud that it's in my city, that I live here, and that I'm working to make it a better place. Everybody deserves to have a good time and have a safe environment in their town. And it's something that my husband and I take a great deal of pride in, to make it into a great event. We have 3 music stages. We have a whole block of kids' entertainment that's free. These kids can play these games. They win prizes. It doesn't cost you anything to bring your children. We have multiple food trucks to fancy your taste of whatever it is you want. You can ride a bull. You can climb a rock wall. You can dance in the streets. You can eat to your heart's content. You can shop through the vendors. You know, there's just so much. The antique cars that we have coming, the Racy Memorial Car Show. All these pieces take up 8 city blocks. And a lot of logistics, absolutely, a lot of logistics. But you can find any kind of music you wish. You just walk from stage to stage to find what it is you're looking for.
And the night culminates with fireworks?
Fireworks off of Royalstone Hill. So then everybody gravitates to the Upper Common, to behind City Hall area, and you can watch fireworks. We've upped our game with fireworks. They're beautiful. You know, we want people to enjoy their 4th of July here in our city, and remember that it's a great place. Yeah. It is. This is our home. This is where we live. And I take pride in that. The parade is the next morning. The cannon firing is 5:30 a.m. I'm sure everyone loves us for that one. We do cannon
It's good to
fire.
have a wake-up call on the 4th of July.
Wakey, wakey.
That's right.
Yeah, wakey, wakey. So we wake up with the fire cannoning in the morning. We do the parade starting off at 10 o'clock. Everyone loves the parade. They pick their piece of sidewalk. They bring their chairs, their children, the grandmas. Everybody comes and sits and watches the parade. A few days later, we do the duck race. Duck race is at Riverfront Park. We drop the ducks in at one fence, one bridge, and it goes down to the next bridge. We have firefighters in the water catching them, and first duck in across wins $1,000, and if it's our super duck, it bumps it up to $5,000.
That's amazing.
So, and we have fun.
How do folks get involved in this? How do they purchase some ducks?
They can buy ducks 1, 5, 10. We have a super flock, and you can buy your ducks. They're assigned a number, so the number is how they go down. You can name your ducks. So people love to name the ducks. We get some really unique names. But you can name your duck so you know which duck is yours if you're in a family. And it's one of those fun things. We're putting the flyers out around town. You can find them on our website off the city site. That's where our Civic Days is. Everything is there. You can find them in Market Basket. They're scattered all over town, City Hall. So you can find the duck forms, and it's one of those fun things. The kids can come and play. We have a dog show this year, so we have pups in the air. They're going to be there, so that helps the kids have something to do, watch the dog show. We have jumpies, food truck, you know, things that are going on for that afternoon. The ducks get dropped in at 6 o'clock, and they all stand on the shores hooting and hollering, waiting for their duck to come down.
We do a flock of ducks every year, so I'm going to have to. It hasn't been my lucky year yet, but it's only a matter of time. So I'm excited to do it and make sure we bring down the whole family.
It sponsors the events. It rolls.
Absolutely.
It rolls back into the cost of the events.
It's just fantastic fun for everybody.
It is. It's a great time.
There really is something for everybody, and I'll be excited. I have my for the first time I have my own table down at Civic Days. For the block party, and then I'll be joining in the parade the next day. So Diane Burnett, thank you so much for everything you do for our community, both from the tourism perspective, but also, you know, Civic Days goes far beyond the call of duty for you. This is truly volunteerism at its very best and finest. So thank you so much for everything that you do for our community.
Thank you.
And look forward to seeing you at Civic Days.
I will see you at Civic Days.
All right.
I'll see you.
And to our viewers at home, thank you so much for tuning in to this installment of the Kushmerek Connection. We look forward to seeing you next episode, where we'll have City Councilor Amy Green and AJ Tarigny of Fitchburg State University. Thank you again to FATV and the Workers Credit Union Studios.